Sure. So a question about how the actual CBA will function in terms of actual basketball being played on actual arenas. Yeah, shake your head.
Arenas.
I know. As soon as I said it, I knew you were gonna say something. I'm sorry. Gosh, so critical. That's why we haven't had you back for like a month and a half. You just
I
ripped
love
me to
this. Just
shreds.
hammer Beckley into the ground.
God. Hey, no matter how bad he makes me feel, your bacon is never going back to you, Harper. Anyway, what I was gonna
Swear to
ask,
God.
Henry, before you started bullying me, you're the anti-bully guy. You did the whole post about bullying, and then look at this. You're just going after me. Brutal. Anyway, something I wanted to ask you about, if I can get through the question without you making fun of me, is the way that the luxury tax is going to kick in future years. You know, after 3 years, you're going to have the multiple payer tax. I don't recall the exact name of it, but basically, if you're over the tax many years, it ramps up. Similar to actually baseball has a system sort of like this, and that's gonna make people not want to spend money. And if they're not spending money, then there's going to be less revenue sharing, assumingly, because revenue sharing is going to come from luxury tax, a part of it. But at the same time, because of as a part of getting that harder cap, the lower end teams in terms of market are also going to have to pay more. So the Kings in 2 years or 5 years or whatever, their basement salary is going to be like $10-12 million more than it is now. But if no one's spending more money because they've been disincentivized to do that by the tax, are the Kings going to be in a worse financial position?
Okay, there's a lot going on here, and it's one of the things that's being worked out right now, to be honest. But here's my understanding: in the fight for sorting out the revenue sharing, there are definitely like two streams of income that are going to go into a big pot to be shared with the teams that have lower revenue. That big pot of money is going to come, as you say, from taxpayers, but also from just straight rich teams writing checks. You know, it would be in this order, I think, if I can get it right, it'd be the Lakers and Knicks would both be writing the big checks. They're the only teams writing big checks. And then I believe it's the Bulls, Celtics, Raptors. And it's really, I think, just those 5 teams that will be paying into the system. The Lakers paying like $50 million a year.
The Raptors have got to feel good about that. Jeez.
Canada. So here's the thing: does that money stay in 2 pots? Are we gonna have a payment to players based on just the Lakers $50 million getting handed out to the poor teams, and then in addition another payment based on how much luxury tax there happens to be that year? So this is to be determined, right? And obviously, if you think about it, the point of luxury tax is to discourage the Lakers from paying a whole bunch of money for competitive balance reasons.
Right.
If they just get like a dollar for dollar rebate, they said the luxury tax dollars just come right out of the revenue sharing bill, then there's no disincentive. So the Lakers will be paying more, when they go more tax. So they got to work that out. But in getting this passed, David Stern had to satisfy a whole bunch of owners. These small market owners drove these talks, and he had to satisfy them.
Sure.
Basically, they've got sufficient promises and projections, and they're not going to be worse off. They're going to be better off. That's the deal. They're going to have to pay, the Kings, instead of paying whatever what was it? They were like $45 million last year. They're going to, and then now they have to go up to whatever it's going to be, 55 over the next couple of years. That extra $10 million, they will basically just get that as a present. To thank you for being an NBA team in a small market. And so they should be more competitive. That's when Adam Silver swears about the more competitive balance, he really means it. And as much as I make fun of their analysis and don't think it's going to work, I think they're sincerely trying to make that happen.
Yeah, well, and they're trying to make that happen in someone who's been in the news from a very small market that the NBA owns, Chris Paul. Let's say he really does want to go to New York, and if he goes to New York, the Knicks are going to be, just incredibly popular and cool, and they're going to be about as fun as any team has been in many years to watch with those 3 stars. If assuming this could happen. In order to do that, though, he's probably going to have to give up a ton of money. Is the NBA, and this is a question that Ethan wanted me to ask you, is the NBA better off with him staying in New Orleans where he's on TV twice a year, on national TV twice a year, or playing in an enormous market where he can really drive a ton of revenue? Not that the Knicks need any help, but that could be, you know, I guess the question is, he can make more money for the league playing in New York. Why is the league incentivizing him to play in New Orleans? And do you think that that's a good decision?
Well, look, I mean, I think it really just comes down to the power of free agency. Like, if you have free agency, people go where they want to go. You know, like we all do, right? Like, if I want to go, right, you know, live in Ohio, I can live in Ohio. Like, it's just it's a basic human right, you know. And it happens that in this case, it seems like this player really wants to go play for that city. You know, we've had players take pay cuts to go to San Antonio. You know, so I think that, you know, so long as people have freedom, they get to make these decisions, and they will congregate where they want to congregate. I actually love it. I mean, I don't love it that, you know, the heart and soul of basketball in New Orleans is likely to be departed. Like, I do love it that players are putting things ahead of money, and that they, you know, playing, this idea of, like, you want to play with certain players and you're going to give them money to do that. I think that makes me excited as a human. I'm like, that's cool. These guys love playing together.
It's great for the kids.
And Miami's not a big market, right? In terms of NBA terms, it's a middle market, you know. So that's the one place that's really happened. You know, the Lakers obviously have like infinite money, but I don't know that this is even though it feels unfair to fans, I don't think it's a crisis. And I guess to Ethan, I know what Ethan wants me to say is, you know, it'll make a ton of cash. I mean, not for me, you know, like not for you. But yeah, I guess it's good for the NBA if Chris Paul, one of the, you know, most delightful, best spoken, like funny, and just highlight machine players, like if he's playing in New York, that's great. And not to mention, it's one of my pet peeves that like there aren't these points really set up people to score. Like a lot of them don't play with great scorers, which is just a bummer. And so to have, you know, Chris Paul with Mark
Aaron Gray.
What is wrong with Aaron Gray?